As the Biden administration works to deport thousands of mostly Haitian migrants from an encampment in Del Rio, Texas, more than 20,000 Haitians are now reportedly gathered in Colombia and may soon be headed to the U.S. NBC is reporting DHS is monitoring this group, as well as groups of about 1,500 migrants in Panama and 3,000 in Peru. Border Czar Vice President Kamala Harris is facing criticism, even on MSNBC, for not doing more to address the surge. Meanwhile, the White House is being pressed on why foreign nationals are required to be vaccinated, but migrants are not. Here's our Peter Doocy asking Press Secretary Jen Psaki about that yesterday.
If somebody walks into the country, right across the river, does somebody ask them to see their vaccination card?
Well, let me explain to you again, Peter, how our process works. As individuals come across the border, and they are both assessed for whether they have any symptoms. If they have symptoms, the intention is for them to be quarantined. That is our process. They're not intending to stay here for a lengthy period of time.
Harris, this is against the backdrop, however, of thousands of them being released into our states seemingly permanently with really high COVID rates.
Is she making that up? Like, as she goes along, she reading that? They don't intend to stay here long. What, do you think they came all these thousands of miles so they could tiptoe in for 15 minutes? Like, there's just such a level of delusion in here, right? And it's so disappointing because it didn't have to be this way. And now you have all these people living in probably arguably worse squalid conditions from where they're coming from, and they just got hit by an earthquake and their president was murdered. Like, I mean, Haiti is no picnic, but now they come here, and this is not the land of the free that they're hearing about. By the way, Senator Marsha Blackburn was in focus with me yesterday and said that social media is playing a huge role in this, particularly Facebook. She's taking an aim at them from the Hill. They're getting ready to have some hearings and do some things on this. That messages are being spread and reaching people and citizens in Haiti and saying, come. So it doesn't matter that Secretary of DHS Mayorkas and the Vice President Kamala Harris are saying, oh, you know, don't come. No, what they hear is the loud megaphone that's broadcast with our President of the United States saying, oh, but you can come. And he's been saying that since he flipped the switch on day one from Donald Trump's presidential policies to his own, just as if he was answering a campaign promise to some progressives, because he probably was. I mean, where do we go from here? And now the midnight images, that the things that normally are happening in dark are happening in the daytime. The rounding up of folk and deporting them. That is a horrible look. He doesn't, I mean, I agree with my last guest last hour, Jason Meister, who worked for the Trump campaign. He doesn't have a base now. Nobody's going to trust him.
Right, and the green light that is sort of being amplified on social media is certainly, it's only surging now because many of those migrants have been in third countries for the last year or plus. Because we no longer have the Remain in Mexico policy, because we no longer enforce our border, then the green light being spread on social media is being extra heard, and that's why the surge is occurring now. Exactly. And Kaylee, we have a soundbite from our president, which we'll play for you, get your reaction on the other side, and whether we can believe, in fact, anything that comes out of this president's mouth. We'll take a watch.
President, what's your reaction to the images coming from the southern border?
Get it under control.
Get it under control, or you have it under control?
We will get it under control.
It's simply amazing. As he's saying this, what is happening on the Hill is Senator Hawley is grilling Mayorkas, who is testifying about his plan. Hawley said in private, you told me you had a plan. When will this plan stop working? To which Mayorkas replied, it is working. To have the audacity to say something like that, it's an outright lie. We've heard lie after lie. Just yesterday, Mayorkas said the border's not open. Oh, wait, but migrant crossings are at a 21-year high. There's no crisis, he says, but there were, over the weekend, 14,000. That was the high number of folks under the bridge sitting in human excrement. That's half the population of Del Rio. I think that's defined as a crisis. And then the most appalling lie from Jen Psaki saying they don't intend to stay. Right. They traveled 1,900 miles to sit in human excrement and build tents, makeshift structures out of trash bags. That's what they did. That makes no sense, and we all see these lies.
That's right. And Leo, so we talk about the actual COVID spread. This from an administration that seems, at least in words only, to prioritize COVID over everything. But the reality is that over 30% of these migrants are refusing the vaccination, that the rate of transmission is above 8%. Reminder, public schools were shut at 3%. And the positivity rate, as they're being disseminated throughout states, I mean, it's upwards of 15,000, for example, in McAllen, Texas. These numbers are really horrifying, but it seems as if the administration only looks at it from a humane condition if they're Republicans.
Oh, let me be very clear, Emily. It's only if you're an American citizen. There is a inconsistent double standard. The people at the southern border who are entering this country, there is no COVID restrictions. There is no COVID requirement. There is no vaccine requirement. This is what drives the American public crazy. You're hearing a mixed message, a double standard. The reason why what you see down there, which is a third world country, and I submit to you, there's not another place in this country that looks like that. This is outrageous. And what Kayleigh said, the Biden administration is strictly lying to the American public, notwithstanding what we're seeing. And I guarantee you, the only reason why they won't do anything is because they are afraid. I want to say afraid of their left. The socialist left would chew them up.
And Casey, we have a vice president who's refused to hold press briefings, refused to visit the southern border, refused to even take impromptu questions from reporters. And yet now all of a sudden, against the landscape of being completely MIA or missing in action, as Kayleigh says, then now she's agreed to go on a talk show. We need a leader, not just talking points. Your thoughts?
Well, she decided which football team was going to get the ball first over the weekend. I mean, she flipped a coin at a college football game over the weekend while Joe Biden was riding his bike. So, you know, there may be some more important things on the docket.